Hello everyone, thanks for checking out my video. It's Goose coming at you with another guide on how to set up a ZelNode. Now a lot has changed since my previous videos on how to get up and running on the Zel network, so I want to make sure you have the latest information available, and this video will seek to show you all of the steps that you need to get your ZelCore wallet prepared to run a ZelNode. We'll also take a look at some of the different options of VPS providers that you may choose to rent from. Or if you want, you can always purchase your own equipment, but you're going to have to take into consideration you need dedicated IP and enough bandwidth from your ISP. Now, with that out of the way, I also want to let you know that they have a lot of new scripts available to make this even easier. Okay, so don't be intimidated. Just follow along and you should be up and running in no time. Now, this is a three-part series, the first of which is going to focus on the wallet and VPS providers. The second series will go into detail about exactly how to install the software on your server, on your VPS. And after that, we'll talk about how to start the node. And then the final episode I'm going to do will show you how easy it is to register and deploy your own application on the Flux network. Flux is truly awesome. It's something that's really going to change the game for developers especially, but really anybody who's savvy enough to create their own Docker containers and host them on a place like Docker Hub. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you want to see your application being shared across one of the world's largest and growing decentralized networks, this is the place for you. Let's get started. Before I get into detail about how to set up a full node in ZelCore, I just want to go over some preliminary information. The first of which are MasterNode.Online Listings. I just want to give a big shout out to the Zel community who made this possible. This is the only reason we're here is because of the generous donations of the community. They wanted to see the listing here on MNO. And what's good about this is it'll introduce the Zel project to a whole new audience of enthusiasts, people who are already interested in masternodes and running their own nodes. And I think that when they look into Zel and they start to see what's really going on there, they're going to be very excited that it's a masternode that does more than just verify transactions or, speed up transactions or even secure the network. What it does is enables developers to run applications on those nodes and to do so in such a way that they could span it across the network very quickly. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the Flux operating system. Once an application is registered, if it's a global application, it can very easily be replicated across the network in a matter of minutes. And this is already a feature that's available. So just imagine what the future may hold for this particular project. As you can see, we've got three different tiers of nodes, the basic node, super node, and a BAMF node, each requiring a certain amount of collateral. You can go into detail here as to what that collateral is and what the ROI is. One thing that I do want to mention here about each tier, you can check out the Zel.network webpage and you'll see that there is a requirement of resources for each tier. So the basic tier requires 2 cores, so CPU cores, and then 4 gigabytes of RAM and 50 gigs of SSD space. Now, that storage space needs to be SSD and it needs to be fast read and fast write. The reason for that should be obvious, but we're going to make sure that the performance of this network is good for users. So once somebody logs into an app that's running on the network, we want them to have a good experience. We also want to guarantee that to the developers. Each tier has its own requirements. The super has higher requirements. The BAMF has the highest requirements. Okay, and of course, each of these is going to cost more per month to rent in terms of a VPS or your initial investment in hardware if you're going to try and run this from a business or run it from home. Okay, but nevertheless, there is a program called ZelBench, which runs as a service on every single node that guarantees that each node meets those requirements. If it fails for one reason or another, for instance, if there's less than 8 gigabytes of RAM available on the super node, then it will not pass the benchmarks. If it doesn't have the read and write speed available on the hard drive, then it will not pass the benchmarks. And when a node does not pass, it does not get rewarded. All right, it'll eventually be rejected by the network. and it'll go offline, and it will not be receiving rewards while it's offline. So you want to make sure that the hardware you choose for each node is good enough to pass those benchmarks. I can give you some suggestions right off the bat, and this is not a shill by any means. I really have a lot of experience with Vultr. If you've followed my videos in the past, you'll see that I typically use Vultr as one of the primary VPS providers. So there are two tiers you can run on Vultr for a reasonable price. The first of which is the basic tier. This 80 gig, 2 CPU, 4 gig of RAM, that's $20 a month. I think that's a perfectly reasonable price to pay. Right now, that may be a break-even price for a basic node. However, if you're into this for the sake of speculating for the future, which I think that the 4-cent valuation of Zel right now is entirely low. I think it's got so much more potential to grow, especially when certain use cases are presented. For instance, charging Zel to deploy an app, charging Zel to use an app, giving ZelNode ops certain rewards or a kickback in Zel for running the app on there. So if a BAMF owner has all the resources available for a particularly massive application that requires 4 cores and lots of RAM and lots of hard drive space, well, that particular node operator could opt in and maybe earn some additional rewards for doing that. These are all things that have been kicked around. All you have to do is visit our Discord server and you'll see that these ideas are floating. Nothing has been implemented yet, okay? But the sky is the limit. And for those people who are interested in getting involved with an open source development, by all means, check it out. Flux OS is open source. Zelcache is open source. So anybody can really start contributing to this project. Now, as far as the basic node goes, $20 a month here on Vultr is very reasonable. The other one is the super node. You can do this one here for 160 gigs, 4 cores, and 8 gigs for $40 a month. One other thing to consider, another company I should say, is Contabo. Now, I probably have, at this stage, the majority of my nodes running on Contabo because their pricing is so good. I have no affiliation with them. There's no kickbacks with these guys at all right? But their prices are really competitive and probably some of the best for a cloud-based VPS. And what we have here is 3 different tiers that you can use for the basic, super, and BAMF with no problems, all right? Because I've tested these personally. They work just fine. They always pass the benchmarks. Not an issue. That is the VPS M SSD, which is €9 a month. You do have to pay a setup fee. So if you go month to month, you'll pay that fee. That will increase the price, I think, by $1 or $2, or 1 or 2 euros. So that may make it actually more like 10 or 11 euros per month. Do take that into consideration. And then when you convert that to USD, you're looking at 13-ish USD, maybe 14 USD for that. They also have a new location in the States. So if you're American, you want to run the server in the States, you can do so, but they charge an additional €2 fee on top of that. Okay, so by the time you start adding up all the fees, you get really close to the $20 a month mark. Just putting that out there. So if you want like no hassle, check out Vultr. But that's only going to be for the 2 tiers, the basic and the super would be the VPS L. All right, so M for basic, L for super. You decide where you want to run it. If you want to just run it in Frankfurt, where their headquarters is, that's fine. But do keep in mind that you're going to be centralizing some of the network there because there are a lot of people who are running their servers there. I mean, it might not be terrible, but if they have some kind of major power problem or nobody can access the servers, a good portion of the network goes down. That's a problem. The nice thing about Vultr is they have, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of about a dozen different locations that you can choose from. So a bunch of different locations in the US, some in Canada, some in the UK, some in China. So there's a lot of different places where you can choose to deploy your node, and that can really help aid in decentralization, which something is very important. It's one of the main focuses of this particular project. All right. Lastly, if you want to run a BAMF node, €26.99. again, plus the fee, and if you choose to run it in the US. But nevertheless, you are far lower price per month to run this particular server, the VPS XL on Contabo, than you are on someplace like Vultr, which you'd have to be right here at $160 a month. There is absolutely no contest, okay? So don't even go there. And there are many other American providers, like, I don't even want to go into it. I don't want to dog anybody. But I don't know if you can beat this for a BAMF, okay? You may have to spend a lot more money to get the Zel, but if you're going to run a BAMF node, right there. One of the best out there. I mean, there's Hetzner, which will charge you a little more than that, but you'll be in Germany and you'll have to jump through hoops in order to, either create a logical volume or put two SSDs together to create one, and it's kind of a pain in the neck. Why you want to jump through those hoops? This gives you all the space you need, all the cores you need, in fact, more cores than you need, and gives you all the RAM you need. So I would highly recommend this. In fact, I have run nodes on all three and have had absolutely no problems whatsoever. So with that out of the way, now we know exactly what nodes are available, what tiers. All you have to determine is how much Zel you need to buy. So looking at the tiers, figure it out. What do you want to do? Do you want to make a basic, a super, or a BAMF? Once you've determined that and you've kind of cross-checked that with the price of the VPSs, then purchase your Zel. You can go to any number of different exchanges at this point. We're on Huobi, we're on KuCoin, we're on a bunch of other exchanges. Check us out on the website. You can see wherever else we're listed. One other option I'll give you is within ZelCore itself. We have exchanges there, and those are available to anybody. So you decide what's best for you. Pick it up, and then I'll show you how to stake it in the wallet. All right, to get started with ZelCore, go on over to Zel.network, click on ZelCore, and then click on download. Depending on what platform you're running, it should give you the correct option here. In my case, I'm running Windows, so I can go ahead and download for Windows, save your file, and execute it. That will open up ZelCore for the first time. And here is where you're going to want to create a new account. This is very simple to do. All you do is click on Register Account on this device, and then go ahead and type in your username. So let's say test user. This is case sensitive. So if you, like I have here, capital T, capital U, that will be permanent. All right, so you can't later on try to get to the same account by typing in test user like this. That will not work. The way ZelCore creates the account is based on a combination of the exact characters you use for your username and the exact characters you use for your password. All right, it will then generate the salts needed to create those unique addresses within ZelCore. Okay, so everything is tied to your exact username. So we're going to go ahead and use test user like this. And then for a password, you want to make sure you enter something secure. And the way to determine that is based on the color scheme of the line that shows up here. So this is real simple, right? I'm sure you've seen these on other websites, but the idea is you want to make sure that you type in a password that makes the line green. You can use a password generator for this if you want, if you have some other type of password manager. I would probably recommend not doing that. Use a password you can remember, or at the very least write it down and store it in a very secure location, because depending on the amount of crypto you store in your ZelCore wallet, that could be vulnerable. So make sure that you have it backed up. Confirm your password and then click on register account on this device, and then go ahead and agree to the terms that they offer you. After you've registered your account locally, then you can log in. So you would just type in your username. I already have a test account installed here, so I want to go ahead and work with that. Once you've logged in, it will put you on the portfolio page. Notice that it says up here, your D2FA is not activated. Improve your security and enable D2FA in the Zel ID tool. This is a very powerful second layer for you that actually stores your two-factor authentication PIN on the blockchain in an encrypted form. And then every time you try to log in using your unique account, it will request your PIN. And this is something that you can change periodically as well. So while you cannot change your username and password, you can change your PIN. So you can make that PIN as complicated as you want. To get there, it's very simple. Just click on Apps and then click on Zel ID. Click on D2FA, and then you can create or change your D2FA PIN. You can also disable it. Do notice it costs a transaction fee of 0.0002 Zel so that you can do this. But once you have created your PIN, that will be added to the blockchain permanently, and it's a really cool way of using blockchain to secure your funds. All right, so that's one thing. The other thing is, of course, the assets here in the portfolio tab. ZelCore supports over 280 assets. So while you may be doing this just for the sake of running a ZelNode, do consider that you can store other assets here. If you want to see everything that it has, click on the plus sign and then click on Add Assets. You'll see there's a whole list of stable assets, coins that have their own blockchain, a bunch of Ethereum tokens, as well as Binance Chain, Neo, Tron, and Ontology networks. Just click on any one of these to add it to your portfolio. And then if you want to see the addresses, you can just go ahead and click on that particular wallet, click on Receive, and that will show you your QR and your address. So for instance, if you want to purchase Zel using the exchanges on the ZelCore wallet, it's very simple to do this. Just go ahead and copy your Bitcoin address and put that into your other wallet. Send yourself enough Bitcoin to purchase the amount of Zel that you want to purchase. And then once you have your Bitcoin present here in the wallet, click on your Settings tab, go to Asset Management, make sure that your wallet for exchanges is set to the same wallet where you have your Bitcoin stored. In this case, it's the default of Wallet 1. That's fine. Then just click on Exchange. And from here, the only one that you could use would be CoinSwitch for the purchase of Zel. So you go ahead and click on CoinSwitch. From here, we would click on Sell BTC and then Buy Zel. And this will go ahead and load up a trading pair for Bitcoin and Zel. And then you determine how much Zel you would like to purchase. Notice it does have an approximation here. So what I would recommend is putting in a few more Zel than you would actually need, just so you have a little bit left over for transactions. Or if you do want to add two-factor authentication, you can do that. So in our case, let's go ahead and set up for a basic node. I'm going to put 10,005 Zel. And notice that it gives us an estimation of about $405 in US underneath the Zel. That's the worth at the current exchange rate. And then over here, notice it is automatically plugging in $430 worth of Bitcoin. Now, that is the fee that you're going to be paying, right? There's about a $25 difference here for doing this transaction on ZelCore. That's a convenience fee. There's also a little bit of a transaction fee here, 0.0005 BTC, as well as the miner fee, which is next to nothing for Zel. But if you agree to this and are okay with a little bit of a difference in terms of the fee, go ahead and agree here, and then click on Begin Exchange. This, once you click the exchange, will take about 15 to 20 minutes. That's the average turnaround time for a purchase through CoinSwitch. The nice thing about using this feature is that while there is a little bit of a premium to use it, this is an anonymous transaction. So the Bitcoin will go out to an exchange, they will purchase the Zel, send it back to your wallet, and then you go back to your portfolio tab, click on Zel. Once the transaction is complete, you will see your deposit of Zel here. And of course, you can go back to your Bitcoin wallet and you'll see the debit of the amount of Bitcoin that was needed to purchase that Zel. So now that we've got our Zel, we can click on the Zel wallet, and there's one other feature that we have here, which is the full node wallet. So we would go ahead and click on the three dots here in the top right and then click on full node. What this will do is give us the ability to run a full node wallet on our desktop. Now the full node wallet will download the entire Zel blockchain, which is a little under 4 gigabytes right now. So make sure you have enough space on your hard drive in order to accommodate that. And then click on the launch full node. What this will do is download all of the necessary files to run the full node on your computer. Now, don't be confused about full node here versus running a ZelNode. This is not a ZelNode. This simply acts as a means of controlling your ZelNode. Once the full node wallet is open, what you want to make sure is that the wallet is fully synced before you start using it. The only way to ensure that it's fully synced is to look at this percentage right here. And if it's your first time opening it, it'll be at 0, and then it'll slowly work its way to 100%. It can take the better part of a day to do that right now because it is downloading almost 4 gigabytes worth of blockchain from other nodes. You can see right now mine is connected to 16 peers. So these are other nodes that are currently connected to my full node wallet and are feeding the blockchain to it. But even though there are 16 peers, it still takes quite a long time to download that blockchain. If you'd like to speed up the process, there is a way that you can use a pre-zipped up version of the blockchain called a bootstrap, and you can extract that in your Zelcache folder, and then that will greatly reduce the amount of time you have to wait for the blockchain to download. I'll leave a link in the description for a video on how to do that. For right now, let's just assume that you've gotten to the point where you're 100% synced, and this is a vanilla full node wallet. There's nothing in here yet, but we are going to move our Zel over to this wallet because we need to stake our Zel here so that we can then use it to control our ZelNode. So since we're making a basic node, what we want to do is click on receiving addresses. And right now, our default address is here. This is the first address available in the list of addresses that would be assigned to our wallet data file. And you can very well just use this one. What I like to do is leave one that enables me to transfer Zel back and forth from my light addresses over here to the full node addresses. The light addresses are the ones that are inside of ZelCore normally, but since this is running as like kind of a program within a program, this is its own realm, if you will. And I just like to have my own addresses. So to do that, just click on New Transparent Address, and you can see it just added us a new address right here. And then what I like to do is label these. So in our case, this is a basic node, so maybe we just call this basic node. All right, so that I have it in my mind. I know exactly what this address is used for, and that should pop up over here. And while we're at it, I might as well go ahead and give a shout out to Vultr, who is actually over in Portugal, and he's one of the developers who has worked very tirelessly around the clock to add new features to the ZelCore full node wallet, as well as some of the monitoring apps that are available for the ZelNodes. So he's the one who has made it possible to add labels to the addresses here. He's also added support for daemon encryption and some other things which are fantastic, including using your Zel ID while in the full node mode. So there's a lot of great things that Vultr has added and contributed to the project. So I think we have to give credit where credit is due. And you may have already seen him if you frequent the Discord server. He's constantly taking advice and also offering support for people who are having some technical difficulties with the wallet. So once we have this address labeled, created, all we have to do is click on that address. That copies it to our clipboard. And then what we want to do is send our 10K Zel into that address. And we want to send it exactly as one transaction. All right. And to do that, another great feature that Vultr is built in here, if you click the back button, we have the option to leave the full node running or to just exit it completely. Well, I'm going to leave the full node running, and that's going to take me back to the light wallet. And now that I'm here, I can actually send this 10K Zel, which I got from the exchange, over to the full node wallet. So all I can do is just click on send, right click this, and that will automatically paste in the address that we copied from our full node, put in the exact amount of Zel that we have here. I am going to completely reduce my fee to nothing because I want this amount to be exactly 10K. If it's not exactly 10K, it will not work. And the same for the super, it has to be 25K, or the BAMF has to be 100K. Once you have this done, go ahead and click on send. All right, that has created us a new transaction which can be viewed in the Explorer. And the reason why you might want to view this on the Explorer is because we need to keep track of our confirmations. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Show in Explorer. That will pull up the Blockchain Explorer for Zel. And we can take a look at this transaction status right here. But right here it says it's going from this address, exactly 10K Zel, to our full node address right here. All right, and what we're waiting for are 100 confirmations. We will not be able to start our node until we have 100 confirmations on this particular transaction. All right, so let's go back over to ZelCore. We can close this and return to the full node. All right, by now, since we're 100% synced, we should have, yep, here's our transaction. Okay, now if you want to check the status of your transaction, you can always click this little gear and it will automatically take you to the Blockchain Explorer, so you can look at it there. That will tell you the number of confirmations that you have. Right now, since it's a gear, that means that it has 0 confirmations. Once it has 1 confirmation, this will change to a little check mark. And now we have a check mark here, which indicates that we have a confirmation on that transaction. So this, for all intents and purposes, is now sitting within our full node wallet. If we go back over to the Blockchain Explorer, we can see 1 confirmation here. Now, keep in mind, we need 100 of these before we can actually use this as a collateral address. So you're going to have to wait out 200 minutes at least, because the average block time is 2 minutes. So at least 200 minutes. And then once you have 100 confirmations, you will then be able to use that address for a node, and then the node will recognize that as a valid address. And that's about where I'm going to leave this video. We set up our ZelCore wallet. We purchased the Zel that we need. We synced up our full node wallet, and then we sent our collateral over to a full node address. Now all we have to do is wait for those 100 confirmations to come through before we can use that address for collateral with our ZelNode. And that's okay. We've got plenty of other work to do. So check out the next video, and that will go into detail about how to install the ZelNode software on the VPS. We have to install that, sync up that node, install Flux, and then after the 100 confirmations, start the node. So stay tuned for the next video. In the meantime, if you like what you see here, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.